Hello everyone and welcome to Blank First Page. My name is Lucas. In this video we're going to be cleaning this fountain pen. So I recently moved, and what I did so that I didn't have to take this very fragile container in my suitcase on the plane is I filled this fountain pen and about 4 other fountain pens that I have. I just filled them fully with ink, and then I would use them all up once I arrived in where I'm living now. I just use one after the other up until the point where my container of things arrived and I had my ink again. So this is one of the pens that I used first up, this TWSBI, and because of that it's now been sitting around in this state for about 6 weeks or so. So it's due for a clean. I actually wanted to start using it again. And it's gotten a bit crusty with the ink in there. I just left it as is so that I could do like a deep clean video, or deepish clean video, we'll see. So that's what I'm going to do for you now. So I've got an assortment of things here. Usually I would do this over the sink, but for the purposes of the video, I've organized things a bit over here. So I've got my ink that I will use to refill. I've got a couple of bowls, one with drinking water so that it's sort of filtered water to put through the pen. I've got my pen. I've got a old-timey syringe here that'll be fun to use, and I've got one of these weird looking things which is great for sucking up water and then pushing it through the nib of the fountain pen, and that helps like really flush it out. I've also got some paper towels, obviously, to soak everything up. Hopefully there's not a huge mess that gets made. So let's start. This is actually like a syringe. My grandfather was a pharmacist in like the 50s, I think, 40s, 50s, and this is a glass syringe that just looks really cool. Looks a bit sort of scary, but it is very satisfying to use. And you'll see how I use the syringe in a minute. So I'll just take this out. I'll take one of these needles out very carefully. You can get, if you don't have a syringe to use, you can get just from a pharmacy a plastic syringe, and you can also buy the syringe tips that are not sharp from an online stationery store. But I've got one of these. You can knock off the top point of it so that it's not quite so sharp. I am just being extremely careful when I use it. First thing I will do is I will take this apart, and I've got the lid, the cap. It's pretty gunky in here. Take that off. Now the TWSBI thing comes, the nib comes off, and that just slides off there. There's an O-ring at the front here, and that's it. You can fully take this apart, but this is all I'll do with it. Start off with the body of the pen. So what I do to make it easier so that I don't have to keep on filling this up and down, I actually wind it in, and that kind of cleans this area for me. You can see I've got a bit of ink that's actually that's crusted on there, but this will just help make things a bit easier. This is a pen that a bit of ink seeped out, actually, I think from the pressure of being in the plane, but not too bad. Didn't ruin anything, thankfully. So now here's the first use of the syringe. I will get the syringe out, suck some water in. This is kind of my waste bowl so that I'm not always contaminating the same water, but I'll And I'll just repeat that a few times until you can see now it started running a bit clearer. What I do, so close up, the syringe goes actually into where the ink, all the way where the ink goes in, you can see, and then I just squeeze the water in, and that kind of washes it out. Now, because of the water lock that forms, the water doesn't just drain out, and there's no further that I can push the piston of the pen out. So what I do is I just I actually use the syringe again to suck the water back out. So that's a lot cleaner now, not quite as clean probably as I'd like it. I'm gonna twist the end of the paper towel here, wet part, clean that, got a dry bit, make like a twisty end bit that goes all the way in, just to suck what water I can out, very carefully pulling it back out so that no paper gets stuck in there. You can take these things fully apart, it's just that I don't want to go through the process of fully disassembling it, because then you have to re-grease the piston, I think, and I don't feel like doing that this time. Also, it probably doesn't need it. Now this is where this thing comes in handy. I don't know what it's called, but this is, you can also use it to, like I was saying, you suck up the water and you push it through the nib, which I'll show in a second. But I also use it to blow air. Now I pull this back because there'll be some ink and so on around the barrel, so I'll suck some more water up again. That loosens it all up. And now I will use the piston to push all this water out now. There's a little bit left in there, so we'll use the syringe again to go in, suck the water out, discard it. Clean the tip of this again. The threads don't usually get this dirty, but because the pen had leaked, like I said, I'll just go in and dry it. The other thing you can use is also, you may get speckles of ink on you, but that's a really good way of blow drying the pen. Okay, so now I'm happy with that. What I'll do now in preparation for when we fill is actually wind this all the way back. There's some water droplets in there. There's always going to be, I guess, if you rush it like this, but I don't think it interferes that much with the ink when you fill it, so I'm fine with it. So I'm happy with some of that stuff inside there is just a bit more gunked on. So I'll have to live with that. Do a quick clean of the cap here. I'll take the same paper that I had, it's already kind of damp. Twist it up again. And in the same twisty direction. Twist and clean, sort of mop up the crustier bits of the pen. What might be good is like a Q-tip to get in there with some alcohol or something like that, some spirits, and clean that out. But I don't have that at the moment, so that's also done for now. This ferrule actually comes apart further, like this. What I'll do with this, with the damp cloth again, I'll just give it a wipe. Doesn't seem to be much. Doesn't seem to be much gunk on that one. This one I'll run it through this way. Definitely decent amount of gunk there. I'll just wet the paper towel again. Messy business cleaning fountain pens, but it's kind of relaxing in a way. Cool. Let's run a dry bit through there. Okay, that's done, and that's done. So my clean dry pieces over there. Put this away. Now let's come over here for this procedure. So here's the nib. Like I said, you can take this apart further into its component pieces. The ebonite, I think, or the feed comes out. The nib itself comes out fully. I've done it before, but I'm not really, I don't really need to do that now. So what I'll do, take this thing, suck the water up, take that, got the nib, stick the end of this squeezer in the nib, and just push the water through until the water starts running clear, which it has. Push the nib a little bit, get splashes everywhere, black ink splashes. Great. Do one more. Water in, into the nib. Nice and clear water now. Cool. I'll use this to also wash the nib itself. Done with that. Take my rag again and clean off the feed. Completely dry. Once you loosen the ink in there, it's kind of still, it'll start then running out as you use it. And that's fine, because I'm going to use this pen as my next sort of daily carry pen. So there's going to be ink running through it. And that in itself will act as a cleaning function. I just wanted to get the big chunky gunk out of the way. Okay, I've got I'll put the nib back together. So this goes here. Always good not to force anything. That squeezes back in there, and then I've got my 3 pieces. So you could, I guess the sort of the very normal, easy way, and something you do if you are just using this day in, day out, and refilling it the same day or as soon as it goes empty, is this is how it would be. You just stick the nib into the ink, squeeze the piston down, suck the ink back up, and you're ready to go. That is for me, it's quite messy. I don't like having to stick the nib into the ink pot, because then you get like all this ink that goes into the ridges of the pen, and this particular fountain pen has these really fine sort of ridges in the grip section, and if you stick that in ink, the ink just goes in there, and because the grooves are so fine, it's nearly impossible to get the ink out of time. So what I do also to avoid a bit of cleanup once I'm done is I take the nib off. This is in its, the piston is in its backed position. Cautiously open the ink pot. I take my syringe, draw up the ink, which is extremely satisfying, and then I just fill directly in the pen. Almost all the way up. Get rid of the excess ink. Close that back up because that's bound to get knocked over. Stick the feed back on, or screw it back on. And basically that would be it. Now, this procedure that I showed is what I would do if I weren't going to write anything, because the nib is now nice and clean. I'm not going to send any ink through there, so I often, because I cycle through my fountain pens frequently, but I want them kind of ready and charged, ready to go. So I will often do all my cleanings and all my pens refilling at once, and then I will take this procedure, if I can, leave the nib kind of nice and clean, but it's ready to go with ink. But I'll show you what I do. So I've done that. Let me get this stuff out of the way, and we'll go through how I get the ink going. So one of the easiest things you can do is actually to push the piston down a bit until you see ink flowing out of the nib, kind of. It's a bit difficult to see, but it gives you a bit of a jump start. So yep, there you go, straight away. That's all it needed. I'll back the piston back up. That kind of primes the nib, I guess, like priming a pump. Dab off the excess. Use the, that's nice. Okay, so I'm going to use this paper only because it is literally the only paper I have within reach. I will note that I really don't like Rhodia paper. Far too smooth, but it's what I have. So usually when you've cleaned the pen, because of the water, and there might be, like I said, some water droplets still in there, the first few lines are always a bit grayer or lighter because the ink is diluted. But as you use the pen, you can see already, so at the end of the second line, it's getting a bit darker. And now you can see that it is getting properly black. Well, I hope you can see. I'm happy with that. That pen is now ready to use. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.